Hey everybody, TacticAngel here, back on the PlayStation 4, playing some World of Warships Legends. Today we're going to be looking at a replay. We're going to be on Trident. Here we are with the Scharnhorst. Of course, the Scharnhorst is the first German battleship that came out in the game, and it's coming up on about a year ago. As some of you may know, the Scharnhorst is my most played ship in standard battles, and one of my absolute favorites, though it's getting some pretty stiff competition nowadays from other ships like the Prince Eugen. That said, this number hasn't gone up that much in the last couple months, and I got a question in my comments the other day, probably because we have the Tier 6 ranked battles coming up here this next week, asking about whether or not the Scharnhorst still lived up to my opinion of it from about a year ago. That said, there are two really good ways of going about responding to this. Probably the easier would have been just to type up a reply, but since I haven't really had a lot of opportunity to play the ship, at least relatively recently, I decided, I want to take this out and see how it does, particularly when we have ships like these Russian battleships running around shooting giant shells at the Scharnhorst. Does she still hold up? We'll just have to see about that. In any case, I'm going to put my commander up on the screen. And as you can see, we're leaning pretty heavily and pretty stereotypically into the secondary build. I really enjoy getting up there and actually punching people in the face with this ship. It's probably one of the reasons why I didn't really love the Prinz Eitel Friedrich, because unlike other German battleships, it doesn't have the toughness to stand in there and actually get into these knife fights. So here we're picking on somebody who's failed platooned, which is, not great. In any case, the Omaha can shoot plenty of fire, and that's what he's doing. That'll hurt over time, particularly in these German battleships, which seem to catch fire pretty much if anybody thinks about it too hard. So as he's sailing away, obviously we are using Cunningham as our secondary inspiration. That's to try to claw back any accuracy I can possibly get with these guns, but the guy's a little bit further away than I want him to be if I actually was going to seriously engage him. Now, unfortunately, I'm even further away from anything that I want to fight over there, and I actually am not super enthused about running up on a Bayern and 3 of his buddies if I don't have to. That would be an open water approach, and for me, not super great if they do start to pay attention to me. That open water approach leaves them plenty of time to do bad things to me. So what I want to do is actually get in closer to these islands, particularly since we are starting to have a cap situation. That is, my team has no caps. The enemy team has 2 caps and is working on the 3rd. And by the time you get to a point where you're down 3 caps, you dug yourself a real big hole, and it's going to start to look like a grave the longer you ignore that sort of situation. So, though I am a battleship, I certainly can cap bases, and I certainly will be happy to contest them if it means that the enemy team is not going to get as many points off of it. Meanwhile, I am shooting my salt and pepper infused shells over at the Bayern, just trying to make his life a little bit worse. He's obviously not going to be able to accumulate a lot of points with the kind of attention that he's getting from just about everybody. That looks like the last shot I'll be able to get off on him. We do manage to land a fire, that's nice. And as we sail into B, you can see we have our sister ship opposite us, Gneisenau. I want to make sure that I am appropriately angled so that he is invited to shoot into the really, really tough side of my ship, as opposed to the not so tough bow of it. Now you can see our secondaries are already engaging. That's more fun than it is effective. It certainly looks neat. And occasionally you see we're chipping off a few hundred damage here and there. If we get real lucky, we'll start a fire. And that's pretty much the only reason why you use secondaries, other than for the laser light show. Put a second round of shells into him. We were aiming kind of high there. Obviously, we want to try to hit upper belt if at all possible. Finish off his torpedo tubes, but that's a good reminder that he does have torpedoes, and there's actually a real good chance that they've already reloaded. So we're going to start to turn a little bit. And there they are. We do manage to dodge those. And at this range, we can actually punch through things like that Aoba. Score a nice big citadel there. And he really ought to continue to shoot at me just to keep me from capping. Unfortunately, he doesn't get that shot off in time, at least unfortunate for him. So I actually do manage to get the cap and then finish him off with a skill kill. Secondaries coming through. Now we've managed to turn this around quite a bit, obviously. And we're still going to make use of these islands because, of course, as a brawling ship, you don't want to be hanging out too much in open water. You want to mask your approach. And you want to make sure that you don't take too much damage before you get into the sort of range where you have the advantage. That said, I am, for the moment, a little confused about why I'm spotted. As it turns out, it's actually the Gneisenau behind me, and it took me a few seconds to realize that. In any case, I'm not too worried about the Gneisenau. Instead, we're going to head over towards A, assist in that cap. For a moment here, I'm thinking, I'm not sure if I should shoot at this guy. Because, you come in at the 11th hour and finish him off. Is that a kill steal? And then I realize I actually did a lot of damage to that guy. And also probably a good point is every second that the enemy ship is still alive is a second that his guns are reloading, his torpedoes are reloading. And he's probably doing damage to your allies. So getting him out of the game sooner than later is probably a good idea. Now we are in a situation where we are in open waters, which is, not great. But we're only probably going to be shot by this Gneisenau, and we're probably just going to be torpedoed by that enemy DD. So we will want to make some adjustments as we're going through here in order to avoid a certain amount of damage from torpedoes. And that'll include changing our speed and changing our heading from time to time. Now you can see I'm doing just that. That brake check and this course adjustment will probably help me dodge some torpedoes if they're already in the water. Hard to say. Fubuki has some really nice torps. And in spite of that guy being right in front of me, I am happy to actually try to run up on him. Unfortunately, we're just not going to be able to get all the way through those. We do manage to dodge 8 of the 9, but take one torpedo in spite of our efforts. We are still spotted. That's because we continue to shoot our guns. I know I said go and bow in, not a great idea usually with the Scharnhorst, unless of course you're trying to close range, and that's exactly what I'm trying to do right now. I need to get up there with this destroyer. I want to make sure to finish off the destroyer. I'm using my excellent maneuverability as well as my speed in order to do that. We pop out. Fubuki starts running. Big hit with our HE from the main battery. I think I'm pretty well toast, so I start to turn. I do have a wide spread here, and this is because I'm not exactly sure how quickly he's going to accelerate. I don't know if he has engine mod, and I do want to hit him. Unfortunately, he finishes me off, but no. You can't get away from hell's heart. I stab at thee. Managed to finish him off with the flesh wound, so overall, Scharnhorst, I think it continues to be a really fun ship to play. If I were going to play a lot of games in the upcoming ranked, I would probably choose this, but I'd be choosing it not because it's necessarily the most effective, but because I think it's a lot of fun to play this ship, particularly in a really aggressive manner. And being able to push those bases is important, even in ranked where you're obviously going to need to capture bases too. Overall, how does the Scharnhorst hold up over the course of a year? I think she's in a pretty good place, honestly. The Russian ships, I don't think, have done too much to make her obsolete. There are times that you're going to go up against things like the Shores or the Chapayev, and they're just going to try to be annoying and fire at you from, 18 kilometers. A lot of the time you can just stop firing and sail slightly away from them, and they'll end up humping the Jean Barriere, and you'll be fine. The ship that I probably fear the most that's been added in the last year is actually the Lion, and that is just because it has 16 times the opportunity to just do a lot of AP damage. In any case, I hope you enjoyed this short little replay. Thank you for the question. Thank you everybody who's subscribed over the course of the last year. We're up over 3,000 subscribers, and I really appreciate that. And with all that out of the way, best of luck in the upcoming ranked season. I'll see you guys on the next one.